What if I told you that our world is full of misunderstood mysteries? Mysteries deeply difficult to explain with modern science. Phenomena that might hide secrets that have never been truly explained. Places like Mount Rushmore, the White House, the Capitol. Millions of people visit these places every year. But what if they are not just historical symbols, and instead, they are pieces of something much, much bigger? Before we dive into today's incredible journey, I want you to think about something profoundly important, and I invite you to share your thoughts at the end of the video. In your opinion, do near-death experiences indicate the existence of life after we pass away? Or can they be explained simply as chemical reactions of the brain in its final, fleeting moments? Leave your opinion in the comments. And if you have had a near-death experience of your own and wish to share it with us, please fill out the form in the description of this video so we can tell your story anonymously, or send your story to the contact provided in the description. I was gone. No heartbeat, no brain activity for 7 minutes. But what I experienced did not feel like passing away. It felt more real than this. Doctors said I was clinically gone, flatline, no pulse, no response. But during those 7 minutes, I was somewhere else. And what I saw there still haunts me today. Everything went black, but not like sleep. It was silence. Complete, absolute silence. Then suddenly, I became aware, but I wasn't in my body anymore. To understand how I ended up floating above my own lifeless form, you have to understand the heavy, suffocating weight I had been carrying for years, long before my lungs actually gave out. Even as a young child, I always felt a little bit different from the world around me. I was an incredibly quiet and introspective young girl, very much alive within the vast landscapes of my own inner world. I was constantly thinking, constantly imagining realities far beyond the physical room I was sitting in. I was a natural artist. I painted with whatever colors I could find, and I would draw for hours on end, finding a strange solace in the strokes of a brush and the lines of a pencil. I knew deep within my soul that creating art was something I absolutely had to pursue, so I eventually found my way to art school. I graduated with a degree in fine arts, full of dreams and colorful visions for the future. But life has a way of shifting our canvas. I got married quite young, at 25 years old. At that age, I completely embraced the role of being a devoted wife, shifting my focus from my own artistic ambitions to building a home. I had my first beautiful son at the age of 28, and then another wonderful boy at the age of 30. I loved my children with a fierce, all-encompassing devotion. But looking back, I realized that because I married so young and poured every ounce of my energy into my family, I slowly lost a crucial sense of my own personal identity. Even though I absolutely loved being a mother and felt genuinely fulfilled in many domestic areas of my life, there was always a quiet, persistent whisper in the back of my mind. I knew, with an undeniable ache, that there was something vital missing from my existence. I started to ask myself heavy, daunting questions. Is this all there is? Is there something more to life? What is my true purpose? I began an intense journey of self-exploration, genuinely asking those difficult questions that most people try to avoid. The deeply honest answers that emerged led me to the heartbreaking conclusion that I was no longer in a marriage where I felt I truly belonged. Making the decision to leave was agonizing. I did get divorced, and it ushered in one of the most difficult, emotionally turbulent periods of my entire life. I was suddenly a single mother raising 2 young children on my own, and the challenges felt mountainous. My oldest son was struggling significantly at school. He had a learning disability that required special services, personalized attention, and a dedicated tutor. My heart shattered every time I realized I simply could not provide for him everything I felt he so desperately needed. My ex-husband was not in a position to help financially, leaving the entire crushing burden squarely on my shoulders. The sheer terror of not being able to adequately provide for your children is a unique kind of agony. It is a heavy, dark cloud that follows you everywhere. I felt like an absolute failure during that time. I was in my mid to late 30s, a time when society tells you that you should have your life perfectly put together. Yet my world was unraveling at the seams. I became completely caught up in the stormy emotions of my daily experiences. The struggles compounded, and I found myself trapped in a relentless loop of not knowing what to do, yet having absolutely no idea how to escape the circumstances I was in. Some people might eloquently call it a dark night of the soul, but for me, it was a visceral, terrifying crisis of existence. The immense emotional and mental stress inevitably began to manifest physically. My body simply could not handle the energetic toll. I developed a severe autoimmune disorder, which was later diagnosed as POTS syndrome. My nervous system was essentially misfiring, completely unable to regulate my blood pressure. Whenever I would simply try to stand up, the blood would drain from my head, the room would spin violently, and I would feel like I was going to pass out right there on the floor. My physical body was having a total nervous breakdown, mirroring the emotional breakdown I was experiencing inside. To make matters worse, I had suffered from asthma growing up. As anyone with asthma knows, whenever your immune system is compromised or you get sick, the respiratory issues flare up with a vengeance. This new autoimmune illness immediately triggered massive inflammation in my throat and deep within my chest. It felt as though an invisible, leaden weight was sitting perpetually on my ribcage. I spent my days exhausting myself by going from the hospital emergency room to various high-priced specialists and doctors, desperately searching for an answer. I was placed on incredibly high doses of aggressive steroids. I was even given my own specialized breathing machine to keep at home. But absolutely nothing was working. Nothing offered even a fleeting moment of genuine relief. The illness flatly refused to go away, and the asthma was progressively getting worse and worse and worse. I was entirely bedridden, staring at the ceiling, feeling an overwhelming sense of absolute helplessness. It was at this agonizing point that the dark thought first entered my mind. I think I am going to pass away. I physically did not know how to catch my next breath. I was drowning in the open air, confined to my bed, trapped in a failing body. Then came the night that changed everything. It was the middle of the night, and the darkness outside seemed to perfectly match the terror inside my room. I could not sleep because I simply could not breathe. The attack escalated with terrifying speed, going from bad to impossibly worse in a matter of seconds. As I lay there, desperately gasping, my lungs refusing to expand, a cold realization washed over me. I just knew, in that exact moment, this is it. My life is ending. There is nothing else the hospital can do to help me relieve this attack. I am out of time. In my absolute desperation, I did the only thing left to do. I prayed, but I did not pray to a distant, abstract concept. I prayed directly to my grandmother, who had already passed away. We had been incredibly close my entire life while she was alive, sharing a bond that words could hardly capture. So, as my vision began to blur and my chest burned with the agonizing need for oxygen, I called out to her spirit. I prayed not from a place of casual faith, but from a place of total, shattering surrender and bottomless need. I spoke into the dark room. "Grandma, please help me. I do not want to pass away." As soon as those words left my silent, suffocating lips, the atmosphere in the room shifted entirely. A beautiful, luminous, white, misty form began to materialize from across my bedroom. It drifted toward me with an undeniable grace, and suddenly, her loving presence was entirely wrapped around me. I could not see her physical human face, but I felt her energy with absolute, undeniable certainty. It felt exactly as if she had gently laid her ethereal hands directly onto my feverish, sweating forehead. The very second her spiritual hands made contact with my skin, a miraculous shift occurred. I instantly started to calm down. A massive, overwhelming sense of profound relief and deep, tranquil peace flooded my nervous system. The panic that had been gripping my muscles instantly dissolved. My whole rigid, struggling body was finally able to just relax. I felt as though I was heavily sinking into the mattress, surrendering the physical fight. And then, the invisible vice grip on my chest slowly began to loosen. My airways, which had been locked shut, miraculously began to open. For the first time in hours, I felt like I could draw in a small, precious sip of air, but my grandmother was not alone. As I lay there, feeling the initial wave of impossible relief, I started to feel another distinct presence manifesting on my left side. It was an incredibly powerful, immensely loving, energetic force. Without needing anyone to tell me, I just knew, with 1,000% absolute certainty, that it was Mother Mary. Her energy was indescribable. Mother Mary felt like she was physically anchoring me into the room with her divine, radiant presence. She felt like the ultimate, undeniable anchor of pure, unconditional love. She did not just possess love. She literally was unconditional love in its purest, most undiluted form. And my beloved grandmother was right there, as a part of this beautiful sacred circle, radiating that exact same unconditional love toward me. As I lay there, suspended in this beautiful space between struggling and surrendering, I opened my eyes slightly and looked directly in front of me. There was another presence, but this presence was different. This presence was monumental. It completely filled the entire physical space of my bedroom. He appeared to be at least 20 feet tall, radiating an overwhelming, majestic authority. Just as I had recognized Mary, I immediately knew this magnificent being was Archangel Michael. He had a vague sense of a masculine form, but it was not the traditional humanized depiction you might see in an old painting with a literal metal sword and feathered wings. He was an enormous, permeating energy. The sheer magnitude of the way he filled the room and made his divine presence known was staggering. I have never, in my entire existence, felt such raw, undeniable presence. He permeated the very air I was trying to breathe. So there I was, lying in my bed at the absolute edge of my physical life, completely surrounded by my grandmother, Mother Mary, and the towering, magnificent presence of Archangel Michael. In this sacred, suspended moment, they began to communicate with me. It was not through spoken, audible words, but through an immediate telepathic transfer of profound understanding. They shared with me the deep, hidden truth about my illness. They showed me exactly what I was physically storing deep within the tissues of my failing lungs. What I was storing was not just a biological disease. I was storing years of accumulated, unprocessed grief. I was holding onto mountains of heavy sadness and unresolved trauma. I was intensely clutching onto the deep, agonizing guilt of my divorce. They gently but firmly told me that I was holding on, not just to my own daily emotional struggles, but to the toxic, heavy belief that I was failing as a mother, that I was doing everything entirely wrong. Their message resonated through my very soul. You have to release this sorrow. I felt like I was being pulled slowly into something magnificent. At first, it was peaceful, almost too peaceful. And then, I saw it, the true nature of their healing. Mother Mary and Archangel Michael began to step closer. They started to literally, energetically breathe their own divine essence directly into my chest. With every spiritual breath they took, I felt a brilliant, warm light flood into my constricted lungs. I felt my chest physically and energetically opening up, wider and wider. The suffocating physical trauma was being actively pushed out by their pure divine energy. I was starting to feel true, lasting relief. But as I was feeling this incredible physical relief, something else began to happen. I just started leaving my body. I had this incredibly visceral, undeniable sensation of a profound, weightless lightness. I was slowly floating up, lifting directly up and away from my physical form lying on the bed below. The most shocking part was that my thoughts, my memories, and my core consciousness were completely 100% intact. I was fully myself, just no longer confined to my physical brain. Confused by this dual sensation of being healed yet simultaneously lifting away, I mentally reached out to them. What is happening? I turned my focus to my grandmother and projected my thoughts to her. I thought you were here to save me, and now I am passing away. That is the exact moment when my grandmother gently stepped aside, allowing the immense, authoritative energy of Archangel Michael to step forward as the primary communicator. It wasn't what people usually describe. There were no golden gates, no fluffy clouds, just a massive, undeniable presence, watching me, and it knew absolutely everything about me. I didn't hear vocal words, but I clearly understood his profound message. He communicated to me with a voice that felt like thunder and velvet. You are not going to pass away. This is not your time. But before I left to return to my life, it showed me something. Something I simply cannot ever forget. Suddenly, I felt myself moving. I was traveling through what felt exactly like an endless, encompassing tunnel. The interior of the tunnel felt incredibly warm, radiating a soft, comforting, pulsating orange glow. Yet paradoxically, it was dark at the exact same time. Archangel Michael was guiding me, taking me on what felt like a cosmic, deeply introspective journey. We were objectively looking at where I was currently at in my earthly life. He spoke to my soul again, his words vibrating with absolute truth. This is a divine intervention. We are here to explicitly tell you that you are not defined by your fleeting thoughts, nor are you defined by your earthly struggles. You are not your physical body. You are not your fragile mind. In that glorious moment, the truth of his words shattered my old reality. You see, for so long, I honestly thought I was my illness. I thought to myself, I have severe asthma, therefore I am my asthma. I cannot physically breathe, so that is my entire identity. I am struggling financially to support my children, so that is who I fundamentally am. I am deeply sad. I am clinically depressed, so that must be who I am. But as he communicated with me, it was not just a conversation. The very words he spoke would actively infuse into my energetic being, embedding the ultimate truth directly into my consciousness. It was a series of instantaneous, explosive realizations. My soul enthusiastically responded, "Oh yes, yes, that is the absolute truth." It felt as though he was stretching and expanding the very limits of what I previously knew to be true. He was actively showing me a panoramic, holographic review of my life, but he was showing me by specific example. He would show me a vivid scene of myself sitting alone and crying in despair, and simultaneously infuse the understanding into me. You are not these heavy emotions. You are a divine seed in the vast universe. I am unlimited presence and immense power. I am omnipotent, and I am inherently part of a massive unified whole with Source. Archangel Michael then explained something that shifted my entire paradigm. He said, "In order for you to fully, truly understand the magnitude of what I am currently revealing to you, you are going to briefly become entirely one with this supreme consciousness that is Source, this single, omnipotent, creative power." And just like that, I started to rapidly travel once again. This time I felt like I was hurtling at unimaginable speeds directly toward the very center of the universe itself. It felt like my individual, isolated consciousness was rapidly dissolving and seamlessly becoming one with the grand, singular consciousness that every single living thing is a part of. The ultimate realization hit me like a wave of pure light. God is not a man on a throne. God is a unified consciousness. It is a vibrating, creative energy. It is quite literally all of us, bound together in perfect harmony. I was generously granted the ability to fully experience the complete, unadulterated merging of my individual soul with Source. The sheer magnitude of the experience is almost impossible to put into human language. I was able to intensely feel the boundless euphoria and the staggering eternity of that incredible place. It was a state of complete, undeniable oneness. There was a total, beautiful absence of anxious human thought and heavy human feeling. I existed merely in this permanent, shimmering state of what I can only describe as absolute rapture. It was a state of pure, unconditional bliss. I learned in that radiant space that when you align yourself into that high-frequency state of being, you are no longer confined within your dense, physical human body. You are pure, unadulterated energy. I finally understood, with crystal clarity, that no matter what difficult circumstances we are experiencing down on Earth, we are ultimately this grand, expanded consciousness. I was instantly able to see the stark, shocking juxtaposition of my two realities. Before this near-death experience, I was living in a state of feeling hopelessly confined. I was deeply, intimately attached to my negative feelings, and I was actively, unknowingly creating my own miserable reality within that tight confinement. But now I had tasted the raw experience of truly unlimited power and divine presence. The profound truth was revealed to me. We actively create our own reality. That is what I fundamentally realized. We have been granted the beautiful gift of free will. We possess unlimited power and infinite potential. We truly are that expanded divine consciousness. But precisely because we are so incredibly powerful as creator beings, we also get to entirely create the specific reality that we currently live in. If you firmly believe that you are limited, or if you strictly believe that you are nothing more than the sad feelings that you feel, or the anxious thoughts that you think, then your powerful soul is going to obediently create that exact, limited reality for you to live in. This magnificent realization is the absolute biggest gift I could have ever possibly received in my entire life. The knowledge that no matter what you are currently feeling, or what dark thoughts are plaguing you, you always have the immense divine power to simply awaken into a brand new state of being. And the most beautiful part is that there is absolutely nothing standing in your way. No earthly circumstance can hold you back. No circumstance at all. I had been buried under all the earthly circumstances that logically dictated my failure. Society looked at me and said, "No, you are not successful. You are a divorced, struggling single mother. You cannot achieve your dreams. You are in a horrible, failing physical state." But the angels completely bypassed the illusion of those circumstances and showed me exactly who I truly, fundamentally am at my core. Before I left that beautiful place of unity, Archangel Michael spoke to me regarding my ultimate purpose. He said to me, "Your earthly mission is to return and to teach others how to actively connect to their own inherent divine presence. You are to passionately teach them that we are all, every single one of us, made of unlimited power, infinite potential, and boundless possibility at all times. That is simply the unchangeable truth of who we really are. We experience human thoughts and we feel human feelings, but we are absolutely never fundamentally defined by them." Slowly, after experiencing the incredible bliss of being entirely one with Source, my consciousness began to gently move away from that peak state of supreme oneness. I was still comfortably accompanied by Archangel Michael, and I was still completely, safely out of my physical body. We began traveling back. I guess you could accurately say that we were traveling down through various distinct realms or descending stages of consciousness. I was peacefully moving through what felt exactly like a vast, quiet, comforting void. Eventually, they communicated the inevitable to me: "You are going to go back into your physical body now." But before they sent me back, they took the time to gently explain to me exactly how our divine consciousness is physically stored within our human form. They showed me our intricate chakra system, these beautiful spinning energy centers that we intuitively have aligned within our bodies. This final lesson was a tremendous practical gift because they really vividly showed me exactly how to consciously access my higher, divine consciousness while still trapped within the dense physical body. Then suddenly, the peaceful void was interrupted. The incredible weightless journey reached its end. I felt the undeniable heavy gravitational pull of my physical form. When I was finally reassimilated back down into my dense earthly body, something miraculous happened. The massive, beautiful expansion of my consciousness that I had just experienced in the infinite oneness of Source was actively, powerfully infused into my physical form. That pure, high-frequency energy flooded into my entire state of being, systematically locking into each and every chakra center. My divine, eternal presence was now fully, consciously integrated deeply into my physical, biological body. That massive, intense divine activation acted as a cosmic fire. It completely, fundamentally cleansed and permanently transformed my mind, my body, and my soul. I felt an immense physical release of all the heavy, dark feelings and that agonizing struggle that I had been drowning in for years. I finally felt the clear, undeniably powerful awareness settling into my bones. Yes, this is exactly who I am. I am a powerful, divine being. Then suddenly I felt physical pain again, the heavy, restrictive feeling of gravity, voices echoing in the distance, the harsh, blinding artificial hospital lights, the chaotic sounds of the human world rushing back into my ears. I woke up. I was fully back in my body. Once I was completely, solidly dropped back into my physical shell, my guides, including the towering Archangel Michael, spoke to me one final time. Their voices blended together, speaking to my heart as one unified presence. They simply said, "Meditate on the silence. You are one, Following their final, beautiful command, I felt a gentle, swirling movement of wind. It felt exactly like a soft, loving physical breeze brushing past my cheek right there in my closed bedroom. And then, in a fraction of a second, the overwhelming, energetic presence completely vanished. They were gone. I came fully back into the reality of my bedroom. I vividly remember blinking, looking around at the mundane walls of my room, and immediately bursting into tears. I was crying uncontrollably, not out of fear or sadness, but out of an overwhelming, profound sense of pure awe. I just knew in the deepest depths of my renewed soul that my life would absolutely never, ever be the same again. But I wasn't the same. The asthma attack had broken. My lungs were drawing in air freely, easily, beautifully. The crushing weight was entirely gone. From that incredible night forward, I was able to confidently walk down a brand new, wildly empowering path of life. I began truly tuning into my own physical body, deeply honoring the profound connection between my mind, my body, and my soul. Because the angels had explicitly shown me how emotions can be physically stored in the body, I now possess the sacred knowledge of exactly how to actively release my negative emotions. I learned how to fully feel my grief and my sadness without ever destructively attaching my permanent identity to them. This specific divine practice actually, miraculously helped me completely heal. Not just physically healing from my severe asthma and the debilitating autoimmune issues, but it allowed me to finally move on from the heavy trauma of my past in a truly beautiful, empowering way. The most important thing to understand is that after my near-death experience, it was not that my external, mundane circumstances magically changed overnight. The bills were still there. The responsibilities of motherhood were still there. It was that I had fundamentally changed from the inside out. I had cultivated a massive, unshakable sense of inner freedom because I definitively knew that I was now fully capable of actively transforming my own life. I knew with absolute certainty that I was not defined by my circumstances. And precisely because I completely stopped allowing my precious soul to be defined by my earthly struggles, I was finally able to make the empowered, conscious choice to confidently move forward onto a brand new, beautiful path. My entire existence completely took a 360-degree turn. Every single conscious second of the day, I was passionately reading, watching, and desperately looking for any and all spiritual information I could get my hands on. I was absolutely starving for the truth. It was exactly like a brilliant fire had been ignited inside of me, and I simply could not get enough. I wanted to know more, learn more, and deeply experience even more of what I had just been shown in that beautiful void. I eagerly started to study the intricate arts of energy healing. Eventually, I began actively teaching other people exactly how to tap into that same expanded, infinite state of consciousness. I dedicated my life to teaching them how to remember who they really, truly are at that deep, eternal soul level, who they inherently are as magnificent, divine beings. I deeply believe that it is incredibly, vitally important that we as humans understand the massive difference between living our lives under the false assumption that we are merely this fragile physical body, believing that this hard physical earth is all there is to our existence, versus living with the joyous knowledge that there is this entirely other, magnificent realm of possibility that we can actively tap into at any time. We are sadly not taught this empowering truth in our regular schools, and because of that tragic lack of knowledge, it can so easily lead to us living our entire lives in a very dark, disempowered, victimized way. That is exactly why I absolutely love to share my personal message with the world, because uncovering this truth has so profoundly and beautifully changed my entire life. We are made of unlimited possibilities and infinite potentials at all times. The only true lasting limitations that we actually have in this life are the specific limitations that we willingly choose to accept, or the heavy expectations we unjustly place upon ourselves. Usually it is entirely us that painstakingly builds the walls of the invisible prison that we might currently find ourselves living in. We simply have to take absolute responsibility at some point for what we consciously allow to be our personal truth. And yes, I can tell you from firsthand experience that there absolutely is this magnificent entire realm of loving angels and spiritual beings that deeply want to help us. And they do. They absolutely step in to protect us during our times of greatest need. But we must remember that this specific human life, the very purpose of our time here on this challenging earth, is for us to actively make our own difficult decisions. It is for us to personally learn, to struggle, and to grow magnificently from our own earthly experiences, entirely through the use of our own given free will. Nobody, not even the grandest archangel, can do the work for us. We have to learn these hard lessons ourselves. And because our divine consciousness is fundamentally free and completely unlimited, we always maintain the beautiful power to actively create our own new reality through the focused power of our consciousness. So, I want you to hear this. No matter exactly where you are at right now in your personal life, whatever difficult circumstance you currently find yourself in, whatever heavy emotional state or confusing state of being that you are presently trapped in, it matters. Your struggle is valid, and there is immense, profound wisdom hidden within that specific pain. Actively embracing exactly where you are currently at is the most important first step you can take. The very first crucial step towards actively transforming into your highest divine presence will always be to honestly honor and bravely embrace where you are at right now. But once you embrace it, you must be willing to look further. You must begin to bravely ask yourself the hard questions. Are you currently living out of alignment with your true, highest path? What exactly are these heavy emotional feelings, or these persistent dark thoughts trying to teach your soul? Hidden within that brave exploration of asking yourself those difficult questions is the profound opportunity for you to truly know that no matter what dark state you might be in right now, you are a powerful, transformational being. Because all beautiful possibilities and infinite potentials actively exist for you, and for me, always and forever, no matter what has happened in your past. You possess the absolute, inherent ability to fully heal yourself. You possess the divine ability to transcend your current limitations, to spiritually awaken from the dream of suffering, and to deeply tap into your whole, magnificent essence, your true, eternal essence. It might realistically take many times of repeatedly going from a dark place of deep struggle, or a place of falsely identifying with your human insecurities, and then slowly remembering all over again who you really, truly are. It is a cycle. But every single time you beautifully awake back into the knowledge of who you truly are, you actively learn something brand new. You beautifully find a lost piece of yourself again, and in doing so, you actually expand the magnificent light of Source itself. Because every single time you remember who you truly are, you fulfill the grand purpose of our entire evolution, which is to continuously expand divine consciousness. You are pure, unadulterated love. You are unlimited, infinite potentials and boundless possibilities. You absolutely can transcend your pain. You absolutely can transform, at any given time, directly back into your purest, most loving essence. Because at the end of the day, when the physical body fades and the human mind quiets, that is exactly who you really truly are. Because what I saw in those 7 minutes, I have started seeing it again, even now, woven into the very fabric of my everyday life. And this raises one last, profoundly important question. What else is still hidden, hiding quietly, right in plain sight? The remarkable experience that was shared today was not simply a fleeting, terrifying moment in the dark, but a massive, profound transformation that continues to echo deeply within the human soul. It brilliantly highlights the beautiful truth that even in our darkest, most painful moments of physical and emotional struggle, there is a magnificent divine light waiting to completely guide us back home to our true selves. These incredible lessons teach us that we are infinitely more than our fleeting struggles and our fragile physical bodies. They remind us that true, lasting healing comes from within, from reconnecting with our own inherent, eternal, unlimited potential. Whether you personally view these incredible experiences as literal spiritual journeys into the divine, or deeply profound psychological awakenings orchestrated by the human mind, the incredibly positive, life-changing impact they leave behind is absolutely undeniable. They inspire every single one of us to look far beyond our immediate, painful circumstances and deeply embrace the beautiful, powerful, resilient beings we truly are. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts. What did you think of the incredible journey you just heard today? Do you believe that we are all possessing this unlimited divine potential waiting to be awakened? Please leave your thoughts and personal reflections in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more incredible experiences and eye-opening stories that will continue to challenge everything you think you know about life, healing, and the mysteries of the universe.